Why do some companies have employees who arrive early, solve problems before anyone asks, and proudly say, "I love working here," while others have employees who count every minute until 5 p.m.? Two companies. Both pay almost identical salaries. Both use modern technology. Both have experienced managers and still get completely different results. One becomes a place people brag about working at. The other becomes a revolving door. The difference has nothing to do with money. It has everything to do with culture. In 1997, Apple was just 90 days away from running out of cash. Many experts believed the company wouldn't survive. But Steve Jobs didn't start by redesigning the products. He started by changing the culture inside Apple. Because he believes something every great leader eventually learns. Products don't build great companies. People do. And people don't give their best because of office perks or higher salaries. They give their best because of the culture they experience every single day. Today, we are going to break down 5 proven strategies that turn an ordinary workplace into a high-performance machine. And the best part? These strategies don't require a massive budget. They require better leadership. Before we dive in, let's clear up a myth. It's the belief that culture is something an HR department creates. It isn't. Culture is not the free snacks in your break room or the "we're a family" line in your job posting. Culture is simply this: the unwritten rules that decide how people actually behave when no one's watching. Culture is created every single day, by every single leader, through every single decision. So let's talk about the 5 strategies that build it. First, build psychological safety before you demand high performance. One of the biggest myths in business is that fear creates better performance. In reality, fear creates silence. Silence creates mistakes, and mistakes become expensive. Employees who are afraid to ask questions stop learning. Employees who fear punishment stop sharing ideas. Eventually, innovation disappears. The best performing organizations create psychological safety. Psychological safety simply means people feel safe to speak up without being embarrassed or punished. That doesn't mean lowering standards. It means removing unnecessary fear. For example, Google actually studied this directly. In a multi-year internal study called Project Aristotle, they analyzed over 180 of their internal teams to figure out what separated the highest performing ones from the rest. It wasn't intelligence. It wasn't experience. It wasn't even who was on the team. The single biggest factor was psychological safety, whether team members felt safe to take risks, admit mistakes, and speak up without being humiliated for it. How you can build this culture? Ask questions before giving answers. Instead of saying, "Here's what we're doing," ask, "What do you think?" When someone disagrees with you, don't punish them. Reward the courage to contribute. If an employee makes an honest mistake, focus first on learning, not blaming. Because employees who feel safe learn faster. Second, create a shared purpose bigger than the paycheck. Money motivates people, but only for a limited time. Purpose creates commitment. People work harder when they understand why their work matters. When employees see how their contribution helps customers, communities, or society, their motivation changes. Instead of working just for a salary, they begin working for impact. For example, one of the most famous leadership stories comes from NASA during the Apollo era. The story goes that when President John F. Kennedy visited NASA, he noticed a janitor carrying a broom. Curious, he asked, "What do you do here?" The janitor reportedly replied, "Mr. President, I'm helping put a man on the moon." Whether every detail of this story has been perfectly documented or not, the lesson has endured for decades because it captures an essential leadership truth. The janitor wasn't focused on cleaning floors. He believed he was part of one of humanity's greatest achievements. That single shift in perspective transformed an ordinary job into an extraordinary mission. When employees connect their daily work to a meaningful goal, motivation comes from within, not just from a paycheck. How you can build this culture? Don't just assign tasks, explain the impact. Instead of saying, "Finish this report," say, "This report helps our client make $1 million decision." Instead of saying, "Answer customer emails," say, "You might be solving someone's biggest problem today." Purpose changes perspective, and perspective changes effort. Employees who understand the mission usually show greater ownership and commitment than those who simply complete assigned tasks. Third, recognition, the leadership tool that costs almost nothing, but changes everything. Have you ever worked incredibly hard on something? Stayed late? Solved a difficult problem? Helped a teammate? Only for no one to even notice? It doesn't take long before you start thinking, why should I put in extra effort if no one cares? This is exactly why recognition is one of the most powerful drivers of employee performance. Recognition isn't just about giving bonuses or awards. Sometimes a simple thank you, public appreciation during a meeting, or acknowledging someone's effort can motivate people far more than money. Because recognition satisfies one of the deepest human needs, the desire to feel valued. Employees who feel appreciated are more likely to stay engaged, contribute ideas, and go the extra mile. But here's the key. Recognition should be timely, specific, and genuine. Saying good job is nice. Saying your presentation helped us win the client because you simplified a complex problem is much more meaningful. Specific praise tells employees exactly what behavior should be repeated. For example, one company that has long been recognized for building a people-first culture is Southwest Airlines. For decades, Southwest has encouraged leaders to celebrate employees who provide excellent customer service or support their teammates. Pilots, flight attendants, baggage handlers, and customer service representatives are often recognized for their contributions, not just by managers, but also by fellow employees. This culture of appreciation has helped Southwest maintain strong employee loyalty and consistently high customer satisfaction, even in one of the most competitive industries. When employees feel respected, they naturally pass that positive energy on to customers. People may forget what you said. They may even forget what you did, but they'll rarely forget how you made them feel. How you can build this culture. Don't wait for annual performance reviews. Celebrate progress every week. Highlight employees who solve problems, support colleagues, or show initiative. Encourage peer-to-peer recognition, where teammates appreciate each other's efforts. Most importantly, recognize behaviors, not personalities. As we're talking about leadership, communication, decision-making, and business growth, there's something interesting I came across the Leaders Toolkit. Sometimes the real challenge is inspiring your team, handling tough conversations, making decisions that actually stick, staying focused under pressure. And it didn't stop at the ebook. You also get a checklist to keep you focused, a resource cheat sheet for quick solutions, and a mind map that simplifies everything into one glance. Simple, practical, and powerful. I've added the link in the description below so you can easily explore it after this video. Fourth, develop leaders who coach, not just bosses. Strongest workplace culture can be destroyed by one thing: poor leadership. And that's exactly why our fourth strategy may be the most important of them all. Many people don't leave companies. They leave managers. A company may offer great pay, excellent benefits, and exciting projects. But if employees work under a manager who constantly criticizes, micromanages, or ignores them, their motivation eventually disappears. That's why high-performing organizations invest heavily in developing leaders who coach rather than control. For example, when Satya Nadella became CEO of Microsoft, he introduced a major shift in leadership philosophy. Instead of promoting a culture where employees had to prove they already knew everything, he encouraged curiosity, learning, empathy, and collaboration. He famously promoted the idea of moving from a know-it-all culture to a learn-it-all culture. Managers were encouraged to ask more questions, listen carefully, and support employee development rather than simply evaluate performance. This leadership transformation became one of the defining changes behind Microsoft's renewed innovation and business growth. How you can build this culture. Instead of giving immediate solutions, ask employees questions like, what options have you considered? What support do you need? Schedule regular one-on-one conversations, not just to discuss deadlines, but to discuss career growth. Coach people before they need correction, because when employees know their leader genuinely wants them to succeed, trust grows and so does performance. Fifth, build a culture where learning never stops. What happens to a smartphone that never receives software updates? At first, it works perfectly, but slowly new apps stop supporting it. Security risks increase, performance becomes slower. Eventually, it becomes outdated. Now replace the smartphone with a company. The moment learning stops, growth stops, technology changes, customer expectations change, industries evolve. The companies that survive are those that keep learning faster than everyone else. Learning shouldn't happen only during annual training programs. It should become part of everyday work. When employees are encouraged to improve their skills continuously, they become more confident, adaptable, and innovative. For example, Toyota is famous for its philosophy of Kaizen, which means continuous improvement. Instead of waiting for major changes, employees at every level are encouraged to identify small improvements every day. A factory worker who notices a more efficient process is expected to speak up. Managers listen. Ideas are tested. Successful improvements become standard practice. Over time, thousands of small improvements create extraordinary results. This philosophy has helped Toyota become one of the world's most respected manufacturers. You don't need one revolutionary idea. You need thousands of small improvements made consistently. Amazon encourages teams to experiment, test new ideas, and learn from customer data. Founder Jeff Bezos has often emphasized that innovation requires experimentation, and experiments don't always succeed. In one of his shareholder letters, Bezos explained that if a company wants to invent, it must be willing to accept that some experiments will fail. Rather than punishing every failed experiment, Amazon focuses on learning from them. That mindset has contributed to innovations like Amazon Prime, AWS, and cashierless retail concepts. How you can build this culture. Encourage employees to share new ideas during meetings. Offer opportunities to attend workshops or online courses. Celebrate lessons learned from projects, not just successful outcomes. Ask after every project, what worked? What didn't? What should we do differently next time? When learning becomes a habit, improvement becomes inevitable. Today's knowledge solves today's problems. Tomorrow's challenges require tomorrow's thinking. These 5 strategies don't work independently. They reinforce one another. Build an environment where great work naturally happens. Because in the end, culture isn't a department. It's the foundation of every successful organization. If you enjoyed this video, drop a comment. Out of these 5 strategies, which one is your workplace missing the most right now?